Hi guys, second time making this video. First one took me 19 minutes, so I'm going to try and talk quicker and cram this into a shorter time frame. As you can see on the screen before you, this is a map, a weather map, and what you can see on the screen is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hurricanes in the Pacific and 1 hurricane in the Atlantic. This is a projection to the 7th of September, so it could change, but at the moment this is what is happening. So this looks like it's going to be moving into the time frame of September the 9th to September the 15th, with this one tracking towards the East Coast, maybe towards Florida, maybe towards Puerto Rico, maybe towards New York. New York, interestingly enough, if it does track towards that, I'll get to it in a moment. Recently, Donald Trump said in the news about Puerto Rico in response to the death toll climbing up to over 2,000, that he hopes another hurricane doesn't hit them. So it's, if a hurricane did hit them, that would be pretty ominous, and something I would definitely find curious and suspect. But what I'm finding even more curious and suspect, which I think you guys will agree, is the names of these hurricanes and the story that those names tell. So let's start with the one that forms in the Western Pacific. That one is named by Japan and it's called Kanmuri, as I'll show you now. 1 second. Now what you're seeing here is a list of names for the same hurricane. Each country from Asia kind of gives it a different name, plus the United States, but officially, the hurricanes that form in the Western Pacific are named by Japan, and Japan has named that one Kanmuri, or will, when it forms, which means Corona Borealis, or crown. So keep that in mind, crown. The next one we're going to talk about is the one that forms in the Central Pacific. That one is called Walaka, and Walaka means ruler of the army. When it comes up, you'll be able to see that. There we go. Ruler of the army. So we've got crown and ruler of the army. And then the next one, this one we've already talked about. This is Hurricane Miriam. We know that Miriam means wished for child, sea of bitterness, sea of sorrow. So we've got a combination of meanings there. Sea of sorrow and sea of bitterness kind of gives you the same kind of meaning. I think that's what we've been looking at in terms of maybe a reference to a tsunami around that time. And then wished for child, I would assume, because it's from their side, being the enemy, that would be the Antichrist, the wished for child. So, crown, ruler of the army, wished for child, sea of bitterness. The next one that will be forming is Hurricane Norman, and Norman means the man from the north. Sorry, my computer's running a bit slow. Man from the north. So, crown, ruler of the army, sea of bitterness, sea of sorrow, wished for child, man from the north. The one that is forming just down here and probably get a little bit stronger as the projection goes. I can only get up to the 7th of September at 7 o'clock in the evening. I'll check tomorrow evening and I'll probably have another day's worth of information there, see if any of these hurricanes have disappeared or if they've strengthened and moved, and in which direction they're moving. So this one here that's forming is called Hurricane Olivia, and Olivia is taken from the word olive, and olive is taken from the olive tree, and with that we get the reference to the olive branch. The olive branch being the symbol of peace or victory. So crown, ruler of the army, wished for child, northman, olive tree or peace. And then the one that forms over here in the Atlantic is called Hurricane Florence, and that one, the meaning of the name for that is blossoming or to flower. So put all those hurricane the meanings of the names together, and I'll tell you that it's saying a crown for the ruler of the army, the wished for child in the sea of bitterness, the man from the north who brings peace, blossoming, or causes peace to blossom. That's kind of what I think for. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. A crown for the ruler of the army, the wished for child in the sea of bitterness, the man from the north who will cause peace to blossom. The Antichrist. A story of the Antichrist in the names of the hurricanes. Around September the 9th, and I'm assuming because this one is called Florence and the name means to flower or to blossom, that might have a connection with the iPet Goat video where we see the apple, which has the volcano on it, which could represent Kilauea splitting along Fissure 8, but also could represent New York, the Big Apple, and when that splits, we have the blossoming of the lotus or lily flower out of the middle of it, which may be a connection to this hurricane, which is tracking to the east. I don't know at the moment if it's going to track to New York, but it's on the right path. Current speeds, it formed over here around the 2nd of September. So I'll show you that actually. My computer's not too slow. So if that's the case, you can see it's about here, 2nd of September, and it moves to about here by the 7th. So that's 5 days, not that much movement. Another 5 days would probably put it about here, which would be about the 12th. So if I'm looking around the time frame that I'm looking at, that would bring it in around September 15th. But it could pick up speed, or it could slow down even further. So I would say somewhere between 4 and 9 days for this hurricane to approach the East Coast, whether that's New York, Florida, or the Puerto Rico area, or it may just swing around like others have done before. But that's the message they've got there in these hurricanes. Obviously, I don't think people are going to look at it in that way in terms of all the hurricanes at once. You know, you'll be paying attention to one hurricane at a time, or, you know, maybe 3 on this side and you'd ignore these 2. I wasn't even going to look up these 2 names. I was just thinking, oh, you know, I don't usually look up the names of the typhoons on the western side of the Pacific. But today I decided to, especially because I saw 5 of them in the Pacific. I thought, okay, let me research and find out what they are. And to find out that it's all kind of linked in this story chain: a crown for the ruler of the army, the wished for child in the sea of bitterness, the man from the north causing peace to blossom. It screamed Antichrist, and I thought you guys should know. So that's that part. And we're looking out for a potential chemical attack involved in this false flag 9/11 event that's going to cause World War III to start. And I think that's going to be associated with London. Could be around the 2nd of September, 3rd of September, maybe in association with the O2 and Kevin Hart, as I've talked about. But Russia's also warning that it could be in relation to Syria. Again, like April the 13th, where the United States, France, and the United Kingdom launched the attack on Syria for the alleged use of chemical weapons that the public was never shown proof of, I might add. You know, despite the fact that they said they had proof, we were never shown any of it. So we are supposed to just take their word for it. But obviously, me personally, from the moment that the UK went to war over 9/11, not just the Twin Tower attacks, but the alleged weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and then to discover there was no weapons there, and then to discover all the evidence of 9/11 being an inside job, or at least something that was planned and not coincidental. It just kind of threw me off any of that, so I just look at all that with a very skeptical eye. North Korea around the 9th of September, so we're looking at still in this kind of 9 to 15 time frame. They're going to have their military parade. You guys have seen what's happening between the United States and North Korea at the moment. The whole denuclearization thing is kind of breaking down, and for us it's not a surprise because we've been looking at that whole scenario for the last year. I mean, since the last North Korea launch, we've been looking at North Korea potentially being either used as a tool for getting to World War III, or actually being part of causing World War III. So when you're hearing reports like North Korea slams US for hatching a criminal plot against Pyongyang, it just rings you back or like pings you back to the rhetoric we were having before, fire and fury, the bloody nose strike, you know, all of that. But now we're even further down the line where North Korea has been developing their nuclear program and missile program whilst doing these peace talks. So getting relief in terms of military scrutiny. Obviously the sanctions are still there, but they haven't got as much military pressure. In fact, the United States moved the United States military from the DMZ 70 kilometers into South Korea. Now, if that's not a preparation for war, I don't know what is. You've had the army there all that time while you've had these tensions between North Korea, but no actual indications that war was about to take place. Even with the bloody nose strike, talk, they didn't move the United States military back, but they have now. And you could argue that in the event North Korea decided they were going to launch their strike with all that artillery they've got facing South Korea, the United States would want to kind of protect their soldiers, at least in the first wave of strikes, give them a 70-kilometer gap in order to retaliate. A lot of things to watch. So 2 years ago, on September the 9th, North Korea did their nuclear test. It wasn't their biggest. They did their biggest one on September the 2nd, 2017, so last year. Obviously, the 2nd and the 9th combined is 9/11, and it could be the reference that this 9/11 event is connected to North Korea, whatever it is, or it is going to be blamed on North Korea or something like that. They're definitely involved. Their foundation day, so they're going to have the biggest big military parade. At that military parade, it's assumed that they'll be hiding intercontinental ballistic missiles and intermediate range ballistic missiles until the day of the parade. And then obviously they could just display them on these tanks like they have done before, parade them down the street, or it could be that they're positioned around the country in order to launch a strike on that day. Not saying that the president of China approves, but he will be there on September the 9th to mark the 70th anniversary. And if Kim Jong-un did launch a strike or something like a test like he's done before with China, the president of China being in the country, highly unlikely there'd be an immediate retaliation. If there was, the People's Republic of China might not respond too kindly to that, which may connect to the iPad Goat video where we see the tanks, which I believe are Chinese, move into the DMZ line. So a lot of things going on. The hurricanes is what keeps coming to my mind though. All of those hurricanes at the same time, all their names seeming to connect together with this story about the Antichrist. Everything else that's going on as well. A lot of tension in Syria with the battle in Idlib coming up. That's, apparently going to be one of the bloodiest days in this Syria war so far. So, yeah. The last thing I want to talk about with you guys is this 88 phenomenon. What it really means, I can't tell you. People have their, thoughts. Put your thoughts in the comments. But I'm seeing it a lot. Donald Trump's approval rating at the moment amongst Republicans is 88%. Hawaii, we've talked about a lot. The H being the 8th letter of the alphabet. Keeping that in mind, you've got Hawaii, Honolulu, Hilo, Helena Slump, Fisher, 8 letters, number 8. Everything Hurricane Hector and all that kind of starting this hurricane season going towards Hawaii, with Hurricane Lane following after that. Then Hurricane Miriam kind of approaching but swerving off to the north. Then followed after that, you might have Hurricane Norman. And then you've got Hurricane Olivia, which, no one knows where that's going at the moment. But again, it could take that same track. So you've got a lot of hurricanes which could potentially potentially head to Hawaii. McCain died at age 81 in August. Obviously got 81 there, so it's not a complete 88, but his death is a little bit different for me because it's where he's being, laid to rest in terms of Arizona, which has Phoenix as its capital, and obviously Phoenix has reference to the Phoenix rising from the ashes, the order out of chaos. Then you've got Bush and Obama speaking at his eulogy, that may connect to the iPad Goat video where we have a comedy at the same time, the LTN reference. I've been through all of that in my last video, but it all just seems to connect together with this Phoenix rising out of the ashes reference around the 2nd of September, 3rd of September, and then these hurricanes referencing the Antichrist, the bringer of peace, the man from the north, like a week later, or a weekend, or 1 or 2 weeks later. So it seems to follow this kind of biblical storyline. Keeping in connection with the 8th, Paul Manafort already talks about this. 8 counts it was found guilty on. Almost at the same time he was found guilty, Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to 8 counts, 88 there again. Today, Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell struck a deal to fast-track the confirmation of 15 judicial nominees, 7 having been confirmed within the first couple of hours. That leaves 8 left. Again, in August, the Thai boys we talked about on the 8th of July, there were 8 boys remaining in the cave. And all those 8 references, I don't know what they mean, and obviously I think some of you guys are probably going to give me some information in terms of what you think they mean. In association with a date reference, because I look at dates and scenarios and things like that, could be the 8th lunar month, the 8th lunar day. That's outside of my time range of the 9th of September to the 15th of September, which coincidentally is the 27th of August to the 2nd of September on the Julian calendar. But it does contain the number 17, which we have looked at quite a lot and is in the iPad Goat video. Does have the reference to Q, number 17. So again, just want to put an extra warning on that one. September 17th, 8th lunar day, 8th lunar month, just because of this 8-8 reference. So you guys, I think that's all I wanted to give you. Hopefully this is less than 19 minutes. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.